How about now?
How about now?
Isn't it going live crazy?
This is fun.
Yes.
So I hope you can all read lips because I don't have any way else to do that.
Right?
So let's see.
Nope. Okay. So yes.
So we're there now. Okay. We have a nice echo. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Okay. So sorry about that. So
we have a new setup.
Yeah, we're trying something a little different today, and obviously that part didn't work.
No, we're thinking.
Okay. Fantastic. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. All right. So
since you didn't talk about anything,
nothing important was said. Just my rambling about I sewed all weekend. Right. So that was really into Jean reads lips. So fantastic. Yes. Can you teach me? Because I'd really love to know how to do that.
So Lisa sewed. She did marathon sewing.
I did. I have all of the standard embroidery done on red, white, and blue. So I am now starting the piecing and the putting together of things. So I'm getting there, guys.
Yes,
it's almost there.
Maybe we can do. Maybe we didn't really talk about what day we'll do something.
We didn't. We didn't get that far.
But maybe we can fit it in sometime next week.
Yeah. So look for a email and a post on Facebook that says that we're going to do the first of
red, white, and bloom.
Red, white, and bloom tips and tricks. I've got one thing to kind of talk about real quick before we log off today. I've got some stuff out here, but just to kind of maybe help a little bit if somebody else is marathon sewn and done the same amount of things that I have. So but if not, to prep you for when you do get there. So we'll talk about that towards the end. But we have some really I think really great information for you today. And we get asked these all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. So I think that'll be a lot of fun. So I know you said you didn't really get to sew this weekend.
I didn't. I'm still in the stages of sort of tidying up the room. So I keep moving things around. And so it gets messier before it gets cleaner.
It does. Yes.
And I realized that I literally ran out of space for like scrap fabrics. I knew the bins that I was using were not going to work. So I wanted to get some bigger ones. So we actually did stop at IKEA and I did get the bins. So I replaced that part in the closet area, which they're going to work so much better. But of course, now I have the other bins that were in there.
What do I do with those? Right.
Right. Yeah. And so I like I said, I just made a bigger mess than I did anything.
Well, mine's almost always a mess anyways. It looks nothing like your room.
And then
on any daily basis.
Yeah. And then yesterday we had a dentist appointment, and then
that's fun.
So once you get past that, then we went and looked at RVs. So it's time to trade in our
time of year.
Yeah, we want to trade in our fifth wheel and get something that's driving. I think we'd like to visit some state parks, and the 42-foot fifth wheel doesn't really fit. Shoot, no, I don't think when they designed those camping places in those state parks, however many years ago, that the campers were that big. So
they do get quite large by the time you're basically a trailer off the end of a pickup truck.
Yes.
So yes, absolutely.
And Dave and I have had this conversation a lot. I'm really not the outdoorsy type, so I really just want to wave to Dave from the window.
Right. I'm gonna sit here and sew. You go do.
You do you.
You do you.
Yeah, you can sit right on the other side of this.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you look like you made all kinds of. She found her quilting
I bet you it's for
instructions.
those things that I sent.
Oh yes, I bet it was. Yes.
So good. Fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
I was totally not productive, but you were totally productive.
My husband came up and he's like, I'm gonna go to work now, and I'm like, okay. I'm gonna quit because I'm literally seeing cross-eyed. I was just like, I don't think I can do anymore.
Yeah.
It's about 11 o'clock at night. He works midnights, so he came up. He's like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Nope. I think I'm cooked." So I followed him right back downstairs.
Absolutely.
But yeah.
So we're gonna talk about this a little later. But you'll see some of the red, white, and blue on the table in a few minutes when we start showing you some of the stuff that we're gonna talk about today. Oh, sure. Yeah, let's put it under.
Here.
My one thumbnail that I had my nails done, right?
Not me.
And I was doing class on Saturday, and
she's like, "Oh no,
my nail!
half
they're
of
not,
it disappeared.
they aren't even fake nails. It's just that gel nail polish, but it caught just underneath the edge of my hair, and
All it takes. Boom. There it goes. Yep.
So that was hysterical. And then
like my nail.
Dave's like, how long are those supposed to last? I'm like, well, I guess a week. Almost 2.
Couple
Not
weeks.
quite.
Unfortunately.
Longer than
never,
that.
Never as long as we would like it to be.
So yeah, I've got 9 nails done.
Nice.
Yes. All right. So should we get right into it?
Let's get into it. Yeah.
All right. So let's see if I can.
So we're going to do some camera magic here. Yep.
Woo, look, we're
you
little.
can still see us, but
we look really skinny.
I like that. Let's leave us
we
there.
Got smaller.
Fastest way is to leave it 20 pounds.
Right.
Boom. I'm game.
Right.
Can we make it bigger numbers?
I wish. I would love to be able to just push the button and make that happen for us. Without any effort.
It should totally be a magic pill.
Right? We work hard.
We do.
It should just not working out.
No, wrong kind of working hard. So today is all, yeah, we do that a lot. Sorry, guys. Today is all about these little trays and what comes in them and what do you do with the things that come in them and all that good jazz.
Yeah.
So lots and lots of you have bought machines from us. So thank you for that. This is going to hopefully answer a few questions of, there was this random whatnot and that came in. I don't know what to do with it.
Yes. Because that happens a lot. So
we get asked a lot. Yeah.
This is that slide-on tray that goes on a lot of machines.
Yep.
Not every machine has it prepackaged.
Correct. So sometimes you just get the bag of goodies or something to that effect, and it's not actually going to be stored in, I like to call it a garage.
It's the garage.
It's the foot garage.
Yeah.
But they don't all have that set up for you. Pre-packed. Good.
So they open, and if it is pre-packed, it might look like this.
See. So
we'll steal the J flip out of that one, so it looks like it's a full case. There we go. Woohoo!
Ta-da!
All right, ta-da! It's full.
It's full. So this is my parking spots in my garage. So each foot has its own little spot. I love so I'm gonna grab those bobbins real quick so they don't go flying. But I love that you can literally turn this guy upside down. You can't do that. That part doesn't work. Dropping it does.
That's how you know this was
it's
live.
Not Sarah-proof.
Totally not Sarah-proof.
So
this is why I don't keep mine in here. I always have the dropsies.
Anyways, so that will actually hold those. They do snap into position so that they have a nice little home, and they're all labeled. So each foot that comes with the machine has not a number. That's a letter.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
a different brand that has numbers.
Right? Yeah, number 22 is my, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
I have a 22 foot.
I know you do. I've actually, I think, heard of you speak of foot 22, which is why that popped in my head. But anyway, so this is the M, and there's a little M that's embossed on the plastic, and there's also an M that is embossed on that foot. So they all are labeled, and they all have a home that will hold that specific shape foot in there.
Do we want to tell everybody what the feet are?
Yeah.
Just so they have them?
Heck
okay.
Yeah.
So we'll start with this one here. This is the R foot. This is your pirate foot. And get it where it needs to be, Sarah. So here is this foot here. And this foot is the blind hem foot.
And that, of course, is for making a blind hem. So kind of self-explanatory on that little guy right there. It's got a little tab in the center. That is where you will put that special little fold, and then it notches right across. Right
there we go. I'm like, you've got to focus.
It's got to focus sooner or later.
So there we go.
So you run that little tab right there, right along that fold, and then it tacks up into that fabric. It just makes little darts in so it grabs hold. So that foot is literally designed for doing so. And there are special stitches that will match that, and you'll know that for sure that you got the right one, because your machine will tell you to put the R foot on it. So yeah, and I had language classes when I was a lot younger, and I couldn't say my R's. So I'm very proud to be able to do that.
Yeah. Oh, look at, I got a really good
Hey,
picture
you
of the
can even
J.
see the J. So this is the little guy that comes on all of your machines.
Yes.
So when your sewing foot is,
why don't we tell them what this guy is?
well, you don't think they already know?
I don't think they do, because they call them in all the time and they ask.
They ask, why do I have this little button on the side of my foot? So that little button doesn't do a whole lot when it's not attached to the machine. You can't see what it does. But when you have your ankle and then your foot is sitting out, when you go up on a really big seam, so for instance, a blue jean seam that you're having a pair of blue jeans, or maybe you cut them off and you want to make them shorts or capris or whatever, and you have to go over that big hump of a seam. Your foot tends to do one of these little things, and it goes bink when it goes up, and then it goes the opposite direction, which I can't make my wrist do, to go the other way. So it goes down when it comes the other side. And a lot of times we get that skip stitch when we're coming back off on the other side.
Needle.
Or broken needle. But skip stitches are what we almost always see. That black little thing, you push it in, and it keeps it completely horizontal so that you get a nice clean stitch without skipped stitches coming off of your big bulky seam.
So if you ever used like a hump jumper, or that is what the blind hem attachment that you would put behind the foot
I have
called.
a comment I really want to say.
I know, right?
That may not be appropriate.
This is not made for kids.
Now, when we went to the Florida Convention Center,
yeah,
you know, we have speed bumps here, right?
Yeah.
They call them speed humps.
Right
there. And so, you know, there's all these things, speed hump ahead, you know, and then there's the big or yellow painted thing. Yeah. Well, I'm going to just leave that to your imagination of the comments that were made in the car about the speed hump, because, you know, the speedier, not the better.
Right.
Right. Anyway, so there you go.
So yeah, that, it kind of takes that button takes the place of kind of needing to use that. So yeah, that's why we have that. So we've got a really funny audience over here. They're laughing at us.
They're laughing at us as usual. Which I imagine you guys, I imagine you guys do too. We just can't see that. So. And
here we have the eye foot. And this is,
I'm reading
I know, she's reading it and I'm like, what is she looking at? Oh, here we go. Eye.
There's the eye.
This is our zipper foot, guys.
So you have two little connection points, so you can go on either side of your zipper.
Right.
Not gonna lie, that's not my.
It's not my favorite.
Not my favorite foot, and I actually don't use that one.
No.
I use something else when I'm doing zippers. But that's for another day.
Yeah.
But that is intended to be your zipper foot, and it has two little notches, one on each side that you can select.
Yeah. We're just gonna glaze over that.
We're gonna just go over that. It's not exciting at all, really.
We want you to get a different one. And so this guy here, this is. Let's see if we can get a picture of his letter.
There you go. You got it. Like score,
right? So this is your overcast foot. So we have mock serger stitches on our sewing machine, and this guy here is designed to help you with that. So that is what your G foot is for.
So before you move on, it's called the Snack Garage. This is my Snack Garage. I think M&M peanuts work perfectly in that one. Nothing comes in that in any machine. So it's really great for your, you know, melt in your mouth, not in your hand, or in the machine tray.
That would be funny if we put them in for people.
That would be fun.
We should.
The only problem with that, of course, is then we'd have to open all of the boxes.
Like when they're here, we could just like sneak them in.
Sneak them in.
Yeah.
That would be bad if somebody had a peanut allergy.
Maybe it's not peanut M&Ms. Maybe it's just candy, like sugar.
Just saying.
A jelly bean. I like jelly. I know, right? We could give them all the ones we don't like.
That is an idea right there. All of those flavors that I don't eat, right? I'll store those in bags and I'll bring them in, and you guys can have them to put in there.
I'm so sorry, guys.
Lots of well, obviously I'm not the only one that thinks that, because that's there too. So I'm not the only one.
No, we totally got off track.
And these little guys over here, if you didn't see at the beginning, hold your bobbins.
Where it says V with a little arrow, but that's your arrow, not a V, but it looks like V. And somebody called me and said, "What are the VBs?"
The VBs.
And I'm like, Vacation Bible.
Vacation bonus.
Right? I'm like, oh, the bobbins. So that is for the bobbins.
It's an arrow pointing down, and that's where you store those little bobbins. Unfortunately, it only holds 4.
Yes.
And that doesn't ever seem to be enough for me, but it does a really nice job. But those do not snap in. So if you dump this little puppy or drop it, they're going flying and they're going to roll.
They are definitely. And then you're going to
need
like the
meatball. He's not there.
Bobbins. All right. And then we have
Nope. Nope. Yep.
And so this foot is for decorative stitches.
It is called the monogramming foot.
Yes.
What makes it special is that groove on the back there that you can see.
Monogramming foot.
There's a monogram. Yeah, that's nope. But the monogramming foot. So the opening on that is the same. So you have these are all 7mm feet. And you have that little space in there here that is the 7mm. I suck at this. Yep. Okay, there we go. So right there in the middle, you can see that little opening. That is the same size as the J foot. So those 2 feet both have that full opening. Most of the other ones in here do not. So that is something to really pay attention. It's a really easy way to break a needle and sometimes screw up more than just the needle by forgetting to change your foot. So it's very important that we do remember to put those back. But it is nice, that 7mm foot. If you forget, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
It will stitch anything.
So this is the button sew-on foot.
Because M so makes sense for that.
I know, right? It's button foot.
Nope. Yeah. Nope, we're not even going to try that anymore.
Right. And so there's a little guide here that I can't make it move here. It pulls back. There we go.
Yeah. So you can see there's a tiny little plastic piece that shoots forward right there. And that is for if you're sewing a button on like a shirt that you need that lift on so that it can go inside.
It really doesn't want to focus on
it doesn't want to focus on that. It's just white on top of white. I probably
should have brought this way down.
Maybe below us would have been better instead of above us. Yeah, so this is Sarah's beautiful phone right here, and that's what we're trying to hold that up. But the that foot is fantastic. It really does a great job. There's got 2 little red dots in there that you line up the holes in the button. A lot of people don't know that most buttons have a standard buttonhole width. Unless you're getting into like the huge, like really big decorative buttons and things like that that have weird things.
Yes.
But all of your standard buttons actually have that same width between theirs, which is why that works so wonderfully. And there is a stitch that you pick that specific foot for, and it just works great.
It does. It's great. We kind of have talked about that a couple of times. So
yeah, because I actually use that as a bar tack kind of thing. I use that stitch, not the foot, but the stitch to tack things together that I don't want to have to quilt.
Right. And this
we talked about a month or so ago.
Is our buttonhole foot. And it is adjustable. So this slides out and you can place a button here.
So
and then when you pull that bar down on the standard machines, it kind of bounces back and forth between those 2.
Mine's bigger.
Yes.
Which way do I want to go? I can't even fit it in that direction. Look at that. So this is the new guy. And this is what you would receive when you purchase either a Luminaire or a Solaris.
Yeah. So open that one up. So there you go. Here you can see the size,
difference of how big of a buttonhole you can actually create.
Size matters.
It does. Here. You know, we say that actually a lot. Unfortunately, it is true in sewing. I'll say in sewing because that does definitely make a difference.
And then I think everybody can figure out what this is. This is
the tiniest, hardest to use seam ripper ever.
Yeah. It's not so tiny when you put the...
No, if you put the base on it, it's a little bit better. So. But, we always, unfortunately, need the ability to unsew when we're sewing. There is, I don't think, a sewer out there. Sewist.
If they tell you they don't use it, they're lying.
Or maybe they use scissors or something else instead. But they have all there's nobody out there. Everybody has unsewn.
Right. And then, so let's put this over here. And let's dump out this box.
Yep, absolutely. So the standard feet that we just went through are what are included in like 99% of all machines that are sold from Baby Lock or Brothers. So that's going to be your standard set of feet. Some of the very, very entry-level machines will only have a couple, but once you hit electronic anyways, you're pretty much going to be receiving all of those type. They're lying, no doubt. So yes, there are some other feet that once you get into larger machines that will start added on. We'll go over those in a few minutes.
But this, like she said, comes with,
these are the things, the tools and the feet that pretty much comes with everything that we sell here. So, yeah, screwdrivers are important. We have more than one type. So we've got a couple different things. This one is one of my favorites. I use that on a regular basis. This one is super nice because it's short and you can get onto that needle plate screw.
We don't have that problem anymore.
Of course, yes, I don't have that problem anymore, but I still have to work on other people's every now and then.
Yes.
And so that is a fantastic tool to get that needle plate screw loosened and then pulled out. So that's where that guy is literally designed for.
You know what would be great? If somebody drew some holes in these things for us so that we could put them on like a necklace that we could wear around here. Because
I actually have done that to this one. I put it right through that hole and I have it on a lanyard.
This one would be helpful too.
That would be great.
Yeah. So
hopefully we don't need that one.
Right. We don't, but we will here.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
eventually.
yeah, I actually do have one of these that I was able to put the lanyard connection literally through the center of that. But yes, you're not wrong. It's something that you use all the time, changing needles, changing your foot, you know, those different things. It's certainly handy to have a easy grasp of that. One of the other screwdrivers that you will see, depending upon, is this. So you might not have this guy that came with your machine. It only comes with a small few, but this is really cool. This is called the multi-purpose screwdriver. It does come with the Luminaire, which says brother, and it says baby lock on it when it comes with the Solaris. And I don't know if you guys can see, it says 1, 2, and 3 right there. And those are the 3 positions. So inside of here is the actual screwdriver. And you can put that in different positions. So when it's locked on number 2, that's like this guy here, and it works for your needle plate. When it's locked on number 1, it's like either one of these guys here, and you can use that for your needle screw or your foot, so on and so forth. But the special one is when it's turned inside and it's locked into the number 3 position. And that is for actually tightening your hoop. A lot of us have a hard time. We don't have really strong fingers, and the older we get, the harder that gets. So this is a fantastic tool. This actually could be a problem in some aspects because you don't know how tight you're tightening things. So you do have to be really careful. Finger tighten it as much as you can, and then just give it an extra nudge with this guy for that hoop. But this is really cool. Before I had one with my machine, I bought this because this is really, really nice tool. And it does have that fancy dancy little hole there. So somebody thought ahead on that one.
Right.
So did you have more to say about screwdrivers?
And we didn't talk about the black one.
Oh, there you go.
Last but not least.
Go for it.
And so this one is special because it works for that screw on your foot, right? I don't use this one.
I don't usually use that one. It's too big to easily fit under a lot of machines, in my opinion. But it has a little notch in there. So it does work pretty well on the screw for your foot. It's a little bit bulkier screwdriver tip than the other ones. So it does not work great on the needle screw. It's just too big to go in there. This
part right here, the width of the screwdriver is actually too big for, like she said, most things. But it does work well
for your foot.
If you are having trouble.
Your foot screw.
The
ankle screw, I guess, for lack of a better description there.
So yeah, that's what that one was designed for.
Yep.
And it really doesn't fit any other place besides that.
That's just about it. Do you know what that does?
This is a
it's an awl.
It's an awl.
It's an awl.
Yeah.
And it does not do awl.
No.
It's actually it is for punching holes.
It is.
So you do actually have a little eyelet stitch on most machines, especially if you have an electronic machine. The little guys, the fabric will come up, and there's a little screw on hole on the side.
Yeah.
That the excess fabric, once it works its way up the post, it will fall right out of that, so that it doesn't build up and stop working. So it is pretty sharp. You don't want to, you know, stab yourself with it. That would be no fun.
Or your neighbor.
Or your neighbor. That would be nice. Might be fun, but not nice.
Sure.
Depending on who the neighbor is. But you do want to use a mat. If you just put this right on your sewing cabinet or something, you will mar it. So you want to make sure that you have a cutting mat or something underneath where you're using that, because it is.
And maybe
sharp.
use the back of your cutting mat, because you can actually push down too hard and
really put a hole in it.
Your mat.
It's pretty sharp, like I said. So I actually have a very small, from when I did cards and stuff so much, I have just this little, it's actually a Eyelet Setter piece. And so I have a little mat that I can beat the crap out of. It doesn't matter, because that's all I use it for, is for punching holes.
Yeah.
But not that I expect you to all buy a mat just to punch holes.
I have a little teeny block of wood that is like 2 inches by 2 inches. and that's what I use.
Yeah, that would work. Yeah, absolutely. But just think ahead before you start stabbing things, because this will definitely mar some places.
Or your friendship.
Or your friendship, or your finger, you know, which none of those are good things. So that's that little guy right there.
Right.
I get asked about that one a lot. Like, why do I have, what is this orange handled thing that I have in my bag? And
right.
why do I have it?
And the other one is why do I have this thing that goes around fruit?
Okay.
You know, like you've bought.
What is that game? The
Chinese checkers?
No, Chinese.
Isn't that?
No, something.
Chinese
fingers.
Something.
Don't remember. We'll have to look it up later.
If you know what we're talking
tell us
about,
what that is. Where, you know, the stretchy that you get your finger stuck. You try to pull away and then you're stuck inside of it.
Yeah.
That's what that looks like to me. But this is actually for thread. So we've got a spool here. I'm going to turn it sideways so that you can see a little bit better on that camera, and it just slides on there. So why do we have this? So sometimes we have spools that like don't start. I know what you're thinking, don't start. So, okay, deep breaths. This is for if you have a spool that is unreeling, so you're getting clumps that are falling off, it will keep everything together. Would you stop?
I'm so sorry.
So that is step number one of, holy crap, this is just a disaster spool of thread. Holy crap. Now I have a bigger.
We picked that one.
Yeah, I picked a great spool. So this would be to keep it from unreeling while it's sitting on your thread stand, because we don't, of course, want a big pool of thread, because then it can get caught underneath and break needles, and that's bad. Yes. So if you have some thread that is not playing nice, that thread net, which is what this is called, will keep that there. It also, a lot of people with multi-needles, especially because they have multiple spools of thread sitting very close to one another, it keeps your thread from playing with its neighbor, because we don't want them twisting and making a mess by getting caught. Would you stop? Jeez. I don't know if you guys can see her face, but she's literally like holding her breath to not say something over here. So those would be the main uses for that, is to keep the thread nicely on the spool so that it's not unwinding in an ungodly way. I have actually had clumps, especially when I'm putting this like on the horizontal spool pin. Yeah. Because I don't have a thread stand to turn it vertically like I'm supposed to. Right. And it will just, when it gets to this end, it just kind of, and then you get that big clump of thread that goes into the tension, and then you have issues. Yes. So those are really great. If you like that one that you have, some people will cut them in half so that they're not quite as big. But you do.
They're pretty inexpensive.
They're very inexpensive. And Tony does generally keep them here. Now, he doesn't keep like hundreds of them here, but you certainly can use that to keep your thread spools in line. Yes. And it works for all kinds of different threads. It does. Absolutely. Metallics.
Metallic threads, your serger threads. Yep. If you're using something smaller that has like the smaller cone at the bottom, Aurifil type threads, they have like a small tip and a small end. And sometimes no matter which way you tip them,
your hands aren't on camera if you wanted them to be.
They want, sometimes they just, it just comes off, you know, the wrong way. So it just kind of,
it makes it behave.
It's like a gentle hug.
Yeah, I like that. That's good. But it also makes it behave, which sometimes thread does want to misbehave, and only we're allowed to do that. Yeah. So next.
This is super hard to figure out.
Yeah, I don't know what you would do with that.
No.
I have can I clean my ears? No, I guess not. I didn't actually do that. Don't worry.
Sure.
Here, let me hand that back. You have some earwax.
It's good to clean out.
It is good.
The areas. It'll get in all kinds of different spaces because it's little.
Fairly
and stiff.
We couldn't go one day without saying that, could we?
We can't.
No. So it isn't like a really wimpy brush. It has a little bit of substance to it. So it does work, like she said, to get, especially on the back. We don't a lot of times look on the back of our bobbin case to get out of those little pieces. We have lots of fuzz that goes down there, and we sometimes get the metal area cleaned out, but we forget to actually look at this and get off the excess on here. So this works really, really well for that. So yes, it's a brush. And you also do have a pick that you can, get into corners or something if something's stuck.
Yeah.
And you want to.
No.
Okay, so that is your cleaning brush.
Yes. And then are these our favorite needles or what?
Totally not.
Yeah.
So these pretty much come in every machine. They look just like that. There
Yes.
are very, very rarely a difference in what those needles look like.
Unless maybe you're buying a used machine.
Yeah. And then we give you the good ones. Right. But these are different sizes. And I mean, the case is okay. I like the slide to open. They're easy to get in and out of and that kind of thing. But the needles themselves are not the best. They're not going to last as long as the Schmetz or the Class A needles that we do carry here.
Yeah.
But that, I mean, I don't mean to say you can't use them by any stretch, but
there are better needles.
There are better needles out there. But standard random variety of needles will come with your machine. So what's that guy?
This
looks
is
just like that.
A twin needle.
It is a twin needle.
That means that there is
2 pokey sides to one shaft. Wow.
Oh.
So twin needles are really great, you know, in a fairly straight type decorative stitch. So the serpentine stitch is really great with a twin needle or even just a straight stitch in general.
And this package is super helpful. It totally tells you exactly.
It's a size 2.
Right. That's actually stands for 2 millimeters. So it's 2 millimeters wide.
So the next question you guys might be thinking
size
is
11.
Are there different sizes available?
Yes.
And
well, the needles themselves aren't really, they can be in different sizes, but this
the width between the needles can range.
Is referring to the distance between the 2 needles. So if
I
you're
like mine bigger.
Yes, of course.
Of course.
Doesn't everyone.
Right.
But you do have to be, so depending on your size, you have to pay attention to the width of your stitch.
Correct.
Because if you have like a 4 millimeter wide.
And you only have a 7 millimeter stitch width.
That's right.
You're going to have an issue.
You might have an issue.
Straight stitch, okay. Not straight stitch, probably not okay.
Right. So if you're trying that serpentine, be careful about
the width. You want to make sure that you're not going to hit the foot and
walk that hand wheel over.
We don't want to break it.
Yes.
Not that they're uber expensive, but we still don't want to have to break it and come back in and buy another one.
I mean, they're like $7 to $12. So I mean, in needle speak, for one
needle, it is expensive.
It can be kind of expensive.
But yeah. So these are super important. But out of all of those, that one's my favorite.
The little one?
I love the mini one.
Do you use it a lot?
Nope.
You just love it.
I just like it. It's cute. Those are unreeling discs.
Yeah.
So basically you're going to put that on the end of the spool to keep it in place so it doesn't fall off or any of those things. So the reason that I like that is because most of my thread is like this.
Little?
It's on a comb. No, would you knock it off? It's little because I used it.
Right.
So, you know, this one is okay, but you can see that it is a little bit larger than the end. Even on this one, it's a little bit larger. And what can happen is the thread can get caught behind that and then cause those issues we were talking about earlier with the mess at the base of it. So this little guy sits right in there and it holds it in place, but it doesn't prevent my thread from unflowing, unreeling. Yes. Unreeling, that's what I want to say. Unreeling without any problems. So general rule of thumb is this should be smaller than the end of your spool.
Yes.
So that's why I like this one, is because if I'm going to use one, that one fits on most of my spools. So
yeah. So pick this for based on the size of your spool.
Yep.
So Lisa calls them unreeling discs, and I call them spool caps. So
I use that word.
We'll know what you're talking about if you just say like that white disc thing.
That white disc thing. And those are a whole whopping 99 cents a piece.
Yes.
So what? Wow. So you know, there are actually 3 sizes. The other one actually comes on the machine. And then depending upon what machine, sometimes you usually get 2 mediums, 1 small and 1 large. So again, you just want that to be smaller than the cap of your spool.
Yes.
So that's what's in that one.
That is about all that comes with that.
Most of the base
machines.
Yep.
So we'll put.
She can put that away. And then we've got this really big box.
And so we went from, so this is from like a Presto 2. or a Brother 500 or a 550 or whatever. So like the first lineup of machines for Brother or Baby Lock, that is a normal size sewing machine.
Yep.
Full head kind of sewing machine. And then we're going to jump all the way up to the top. So we have a luminaire box here.
So this little guy isn't so little. So when you compare that to the parts that you get, you know, so you get one of those in the base of the arm for a standard size machine. This one, we have multiples. We get asked all the time, and I'm going to raise it up just a little bit so you can see there's a lot of empty areas in there. That's normal.
Yes.
We didn't steal your feet. Even though Sarah really likes feet, she did not steal yours and take them home with her.
Right, but I did steal the Jason out of it.
You did. We would have figured that out sooner or later. Sooner or later, it would have come up. So these are for those extra feet.
Yeah.
And the DF here stands for dual feet. So there are some special, they're called soles that go and they will fit in there. So you have a nice little home for those as well so that you don't lose those. So in here, we have, slide that towards you just a little bit.
There's a little space that your trace fit.
Little notches over here that they will sit. So in my sewing room at home, the top drawer of my sewing cabinet, I actually have this open like this, sitting in the drawer. So everything has a place. It doesn't fly off to the back of my drawer where I can't find it or any of those things. I actually love this little compartment right here because it has a place that has a notch for this portion of the foot. And then it actually has a little cord, my bad, a little cord piece right here so that the cord has a home too.
Right.
They really put a lot of thought into building this. And they did a really, really nice job.
And it is important that it goes down that way because you've got
that little piece makes it sit flat right there.
Like, where is the camera? Here.
I know, right?
And that fits in that little hole there.
So very cool. By the way, this is called the Move It foot. So the dual feed, digital dual feed. So what does that actually mean? So your walking feet, this is a walking foot on steroids. You can tell that just by the size alone.
Yes.
But the walking foot on steroids is belt driven. So if you guys can see, let's turn that like, yay. You can see that there's an actual belt there. So that is what's grabbing your fabric and moving it on the top, where your walking foot would have a second set of feed dogs on the top. This little guy is belt driven. So it's pulling there actually with a belt instead of just a loose piece of feed dog sitting there. So again, we kind of talk about that little guy, like your walking foot on steroids, and it does a phenomenal job.
And April's foot fetish class is going to be about the different styles of walking feet, and I'll show them in action.
There you go. What more could you guys ask for?
Right.
There you go.
So some of this stuff is the same. There's a twin needle. A lot of the feet over here, all of this stuff right here is exactly the same. But this is a high shank ankle. So if we have that, you guys can see both sides there. The shank is the difference. This is the screw post to the base. So a low shank would be about yay, and the screw base would be about there. So this is a high shank machine. So that's why we have a high shank ankle. Yeah. I know it's crazy. Stuff like that makes sense. It does, right?
I like it when things make sense. And that's that
fancy screwdriver.
Yep, so I just put it back where its home was. So a little place for that. This one actually comes with 3 different free motion feet. So we have the Echo foot, which lo and behold has an E there. So you've got a 7mm opening that you can see, and then you have discs and circles that you can use to set your seam allowance with that little guy. That is like your bouncing,
right? Like a hopping foot.
And it's again free motion. It's got a spring load in there.
Right there.
Yep.
That actually goes on top of
the needle bar, so it bounces with every stitch.
Yes.
So there we go. Bounce, bounce, bounce.
And then this one, which is really, really tiny. And
and you have to make sure that your needle position is in the right place on that guy, or you're not going to have a good time.
This is my favorite one.
Yeah.
I like the I like it for 2 reasons. I like, one is because it's not hopping.
It never wants to go back the same way though, does it?
No, I'm like, I can How many
Come
times
on.
can I try this, right? I can see.
It's like 6-sided, right?
Right? I see that I'm close, but no cigar.
Let it go. Let it go.
There we go. I knew I was close because the shape was there.
The shape was there. Absolutely. This little guy here is a 1/4 inch width guide. So you can see there is an edge to that. That is going to be where you're going to literally put your fabric edge right up there for your 1/4 inch stitch. And that would have a center needle position. Notice it's not a open piece there. And then
we already talked about this giant buttonhole foot over here.
we did. And that has its own personal home in here as well, which is really cool.
Right. So let's
Any more feet in there?
right. Let's talk about the different styles of bobbin cases. Just 2.
Yeah, I'm just saying what else we
have in there.
have in here.
So we talk a lot about your bobbin case and cleaning it out and how many bobbin cases you have. Depending on what machine you have anywhere from 1 to 3. Yep. There are basically 3 different bobbin cases that are available, and I think those are available for most machines.
I would agree with that.
And essentially what we have is the standard bobbin case, and so our standard bobbin case is going to have
See that little green guy there.
that. Oh, come on. It's green.
You can
the
see
little
it.
screw is green. So we know that this is our standard bobbin case because we have basically green Loctite on there.
Yep.
And
it's
that
glued in position.
Right. That screw there is the screw that you would lessen or tighten if you were going to change the tension on this bobbin case.
So basically, because that's glued in position, you can't change the
That's
tension
right.
on that
You
bobbin
have to
case.
work really, 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 really hard
You
in
could,
order to
but
break
why?
that. Right. But why? And then we have this bobbin case. And oftentimes you might hear Lisa and I say, do you have one that has like a purple dot in it?
Or a red dot.
A red dot. It's got like a dot in the middle, like a bingo dot.
It's a bingo bobbin.
Yep.
That's what that is, because it's got like a bingo dauber right in the middle of it.
And this one does not have any glue on those screws. So I'm going to hold them next to each other so we can see.
Sure.
So
glue, no glue.
Yep, there you go. So you can see the green on that.
Here's your green, and there's your no green.
Yep, and then inside, dot, no dot. And so what is the difference between these two?
That one you can adjust the tension and one you can't.
And why would they maybe need to adjust their tension? Is there any particular reason?
Yeah, lots of those. So, well, not lots, but yes, absolutely. Why do you have a phone?
I don't know. It's like I've never done this before.
Like I know it. So yes, being able to adjust the tensions. Sometimes we have special bobbin thread that we want to use, and the combination between the top and the bottom, is it stitching out right? A lot of times when you're quilting, you might need to adjust that so that you're not getting top thread pulled down to the bottom, because you don't want to see the top thread color in the bottom of your quilt. So, I mean, throwing out.
Yeah. So, you know, you might have known that Lisa and I don't always follow the directions.
I don't know what she speaks of.
Right?
I always follow the rules.
So, I mean, you know, I have other brands of machines as well. And so I actually had some other bobbin thread that I wanted to use. And I got varied results with the standard bobbin case,
which is the one with the glue, so you can't adjust it.
Right. And it makes perfect sense. So there's no reason to be upset if that happens, because that one is specifically weighted
and set for that machine.
For that machine, for that particular bobbin thread.
Right. Absolutely.
So that's exactly what it's designed for.
Yep.
The other one is really designed for everything else. And so I know a lot of
specialty threads that you
right.
want to mess with, or just something that your machine is not designed to be used. Doesn't mean you can't do it. Just means that you need to make some adjustments.
Exactly. And so because you have the ability to use that screw and adjust the tension, you can really make it exactly the way that you want it to be. So I always tell people, if you use a certain type of thread a lot, and it's not the one that's best suited for the other one, you can do two things. Like you
by other one, you mean the fixed one.
The fixed one, yes. So you can, I mean, these are like $30, $35, right? So it's really inexpensive. So, you know,
if you use a thread all the time and you want to make sure that you don't have to mess with it every time. You can get a bobbin case and set it for that thread. Once you find the happy place, and leave it there.
And leave it there. That's right.
And then put it in a Ziploc bag that says use for this. And you will always know that you have a perfect set bobbin case for whatever it is that you're doing. I've used mine. I've literally been in the middle of a project and everything was great. And then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, most likely I had fuzz in my bobbin case or something that was preventing it from working 100% that it was supposed to be. And so I pull out that other one in and adjust it until I can get the stitch that I'm looking for. Because the last thing that any of us want to do is have to stop our project because something's not working. So this is a really great, and it happens to everybody, unfortunately.
Yes.
There's always going to be a time that something's not stitching out the way you expected it to.
Exactly.
So it's a great tool to have and know how to use and be able to adjust that tension to get the stitch that you want.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's why you have the extra one in there, because the one is set for that particular embroidery bobbin thread for embroidery, and the other one is they're assuming that you're going to be using something besides just that thread in there. And so that one should give you more consistent or better results with a variety of different things because you can change it. And then there is a third type that we don't have here. It's usually gray,
like dark gray, but gray.
Right.
So the actual plastic of it is gray, not black. And that one is for bobbin work.
It is for bobbin work. So it's really, there's very little tension on it. There is a tension screw on there, but there's very little tension on there. It's not designed to have much on there. So you definitely don't want to put that one in your machine when you aren't intending for the bobbin to be sort of
the main thread.
That's right.
So for those of you who are like, okay, that's great, I don't know what bobbin work is. It's basically when you're sewing the design upside down. So you're wanting to
79.
You're wanting to have whatever, probably a heavier thread or a yarn even that you're using on that bobbin because you can't get it to go through the machine. So it's
Sorry, Lori.
Sorry, Lori.
Watch the tail end later.
Watch the end later. Absolutely. But yeah, so it's really neat. But it's very different. So, you know, give it a try sometime if you want to have some different stuff.
Yeah, it's fun to play with.
You're basically sewing upside down. Is really what it is. So your top thread becomes the bobbin thread. Yeah. Because whatever you're sewing with is too decorative to fit and run through the machine well.
If you're a paper piecer, and that is a really easy way to try out bobbin thread because you can clearly see your lines,
right?
And you can sew upside down. So you make your like paper piece project, and then before you tear your paper away, you turn it upside down again, and you put that in your bobbin thread and you stitch, and then it kind of covers over your decorative, like the edges and stuff. So it's really fun to do that. So
cool. You should totally do a class on that.
I should do a class on that someday.
Because you don't have enough things on your list.
I don't have anything on my list, right?
Our lists are
slackers.
I tell you. So again,
medium.
Oh, look at that. Different size. Yep.
Medium, large. Medium.
Okay. What else you got over there?
We have this. This is we get asked this a lot.
We do.
This is, if I can get it out of the bag. All right. So this is the bobbin. It's like a bobbin washer. And so it kind of looks like a drain stop to me, like something you might put in your teeny tiny Barbie sink.
the Barbie playhouse.
In your Barbie playhouse.
That in the Barbie
so
sink.
It's flat, right? So it kind of is the size of maybe a nickel, between a nickel and a dime, not quite, either or. And then there's rubber at the top here, so there's like a little stopper, and this goes in
and it sits in the base of your bobbin case.
Yep. So there we go. You can kind of see it in there. It's sitting in there.
So why do I need that?
So we have a lot of people who use pre-wound bobbins. And while we don't necessarily recommend pre-wound bobbins for your standard everyday experience, but if you do have a pre-wound bobbin and that pre-wound bobbin is a little bit shorter than your standard bobbin.
Because a lot of pre-wounds either have a thinner plastic or no plastic in some cases.
Yes. And so that washer actually brings your bobbin closer to the top, right? So that you don't get backlash that happens.
Yeah,
So,
you don't, your bobbin's not doing one of these in there.
Right.
It's sitting at the right height.
And so
for
if
it to
you
stitch
if you
properly.
think about a spool of thread, if we shake this, right, the thread goes down to the bottom. The same thing kind of happens with our bobbin thread when it's bouncing. It's kind of spools underneath it, and then
Then you have problems.
and then it's messy and it doesn't work and all of those things. So these guys, they if you have a machine that has more than one bobbin case, does it come with most embroidery? Most embroidery machines.
Not all, but we
Not
can certainly
all.
get it for you if you don't have it.
And there's a little instruction booklet in here that reminds you exactly what we said. But that is what that guy
That's what that is for. So if you don't listen to Sarah and I, and you do like to use pre-wounds. So, you know, one of the problems with pre-wounds is they're very inconsistent, which is why I don't personally use them. I want more consistency in when I'm stitching. So that's the biggest reason that I don't use those. But if you really like them and you don't have one, we certainly can help you get that. You will have a much better result, most likely in using that. So
this is a
interesting.
This is the couching plate. So this is the bobbin case cover that goes over top of your bobbin, right? Keeps your spool or your bobbin in place so it doesn't pop out. And this one is, as I'm doing this, right? Sorry, guys. So this one has a little tiny hole at the top. So if you want to do couching or bobbin work.
Bobbin work, yep.
So you can bring your thread right up through here, and it really does a nice job of making sure that the thread is exactly where you need it to be. So that is what this guy is
This
for.
might look a little different than yours. So
Yes.
the Luminaire and the
shape-wise.
Yep, the Luminaire and the Solaris do have, you know, because God forbid they keep things the same. They
Yes.
change the shape of the cover for this machine. So the shape will be a little bit different. So I'm just going to put these back in here. We have needles. We've already talked about those. So I'm going to put those back in. And you do get your bobbins. These actually do come with bobbin clips, which you don't get in all machines. They're supposed to, of course, keep your bobbins from
Unwinding, yeah.
Keep everything a little bit neater. So we've got that little guide there. Other standard things, you always get a pair of scissors. Bestest scissors in the whole wide world. Not so much, but they're not bad. They're sharp.
Yeah.
They're small. And they're brown. They should totally be pink or purple or teal
or
blue because it's brother.
Brown, maybe they could be like cheetah color. Yeah, you know,
cheetah
like
print.
Cheetah print. Yeah, spots.
Because cheetahs have color. Again, we talked about that guy. We've talked about these, but you get more than one. Haven't talked about that one. Here you go. As I'm throwing things around.
This is a very, 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 very stiff bristled brush. It's almost like a paintbrush, and this is some pink chalk, and this is designed to help you brush away your chalk line. Yes.
Yep. So you do have actually a marking pencil that comes with the machine.
Yes.
We do have
I do think it's interesting that it's hot pink.
There you go. Because most people evidently like that color. I'm just odd.
There aren't even a lot of hot pink markers out there. That's what I think is kind of strange. But they didn't ask us.
So there's the small guy. I think I already put the other ones in here.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is new. We already talked about this guy, and we already talked about these. We have one new screwdriver, so a much, much daintier little guy. This one actually doesn't work on a whole lot of things, but what it does work on are those bobbin cases that we just talked about. So you need a tiny screwdriver to be able to adjust that little screw, and this little guy works.
Yes.
So yes, he works very nicely. And last but not least, we have this little guy. So we talked earlier about the high shank. This is a high shank adapter. So it actually comes with the screw. So instead of your ankle going where it originally went, you would take that off, put on the adapter, and this would allow you to use a low shank foot in place of a high shank foot. So maybe you have more than one machine,
Yep. So this
you
is
just bought the wrong foot.
S adapter. So the shank
adapter. So and that screw will fit right in there. So you get the screw and the adapter. With almost all high shank machines, I believe, come with that. So,
yeah.
pretty sure that that is a thing.
Right. And
so what's your foot you got?
The last thing that is in here, this is a straight stitch foot. So it has a hole in the center, and then the toes of the feet, the foot,
it's curled up.
Yeah, and they're different sizes. So one is longer than the other. And that is designed so if you are stitching like top stitching, like jeans, a bag, or something like that, this area here allows the fabric to sort of lay flatter, and it gives you a lot of space underneath here to sort of mush and push your fabric down so that you get a nice even straight stitch. So this machine has a straight stitch plate that also comes with that, which is still in the box. Yes. We just didn't pull that out. If you are storing that, I store mine right in here with my straight stitch foot. But you could put that foot over here if you wanted to. It would fit in one of those little openings, certainly very easily. I don't use the straight stitch foot often, so I'm not too worried about where it's sitting. But I do like the straight stitch foot. I don't find the need to use the straight stitch plate very often with this. I really think I'll just leave my piece here, right? I really think that that's a Bernina thing. I really think they all those years of sewing and selling Bernina sewing machines, right? We really pushed that straight stitch plate because not on a 5.5 millimeter wide machine, but on the larger wide ones, everything just fabric would suck right into that hole. It did. So now it's like it's a common thing for people to want one. But I have never needed one on my brother's machine. I haven't either. But not saying that somebody out there hasn't had that fabric get sucked in. I mean, 7 millimeters is a decent width, of course. It's actually like the perfect stitch width. It is. But it literally too big is bad, and smaller is bad. So 7 really is the happy medium on that, and it works really, really well. But you know, the feed dogs on our machines they really work super well. They do. That you don't get a lot of that where it sucks it into the needle plate. You don't. So but if you are having that problem and where your fabric is really going into that opening and just getting sucked right into instead of going forward, yes, that's what that might be for you. So you just have to make sure that you are actually in the center needle position. Center needle position does help. Yes. Yeah. Otherwise, there's some broken stuff. Right. If you're using your J foot and you're trying to piece, that will not work. It will not. All right. So I think that covers just about all of the stuff that comes with the machine. And then we were going to talk really a little briefly about red, white, and blue. Yeah. This is so cute. I am tickle pink. It came out really, really well. And I had a lot of fun stitching the parts. So I have all of the embroidered blocks completed and trimmed. And so now I'm back to that piecing stage. So I'm ready to put the quilt together, and I'm looking at the directions. And here's section 1, which is what you actually see here. So section 1 is done. Section 2 has some piecing, so on and so forth. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at these pieces here that are not embroidered. And lovely Sarah did prep quilt patterns for those pieces that aren't already embroidered. So the only real way to cut for this is to literally have all of your pieces pre-cut, you know, with the directions that you get. So you're going to have pieces like this that are going to get sewn into something like right here. Actual size. This is the actual size. So generally when we do quilting, we trim down afterwards. Right. That's not going to work in this instance. So you can see that I have maybe you can't. You can see I've pre-quilted those pieces, and then I've sewn them together. And I did them just like the pre-quilting for these pieces. The only difference is I was trimming these down after the fact. Right. So in the quilting instructions that you have in the steps, you will get a placement line for the batting. You'll set that in there. You can trim it there, or you can pre-cut down to, like, this is a 2.5 by 4.5. So the finished size is 2 by 4. You can trim that batting to 2 by 4 right on your cutting station if you would prefer, so that you're not cutting in the hoop every time. And then place that in there, place your fabric over top. Unfortunately, because it's the same size as the piece, it's not going to tack it down. So you kind of have to hold your corners and get that position
once it starts stitching, I did not leave these because I didn't want a corner to get flipped in or something like that. So I just kept smoothing things out. The nice thing is you have that cut line. So I don't know if you guys can see real clearly, but this yellow piece in particular doesn't quite fill up that outside stitch. But as long as I trim on that stitch line,
yes,
my piece will still work for piecing.
That's right.
So if it pulls it in, which quilting sometimes can do, some of these came out perfect. And a lot of it depends on how much quilting is happening.
Sure.
Or what direction it happens to go in.
Yep.
But if you don't fill that completely out, then just make sure you're cutting on that line so that when you add it to the next piece, so when you put that there to sew that together, it's still the right size.
Right.
And you will never see that little edge.
Nope.
It's going to be on the back of the quilt, so it's going to work really well. I just wanted to mention that because, I got, okay, is there, how can I do this? Is it better if I piece it all together and then try to go back in quilt? And I don't think that it would be, because you're going to have different thicknesses and all of that. This will make sure that your pieces are all going to be that same depth.
Yeah.
And it's going to feel right.
Right.
Otherwise you'd have weird spots,
right.
I think. So basically what I did is, this happened to be an 8x12 hoop that I used. Some of the pieces I did at home, I used in a 5x7 because I only needed, like 3 of these to finish that section or something.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what size, but I would recommend trying to do more than one so that you're saving in stabilizer, and just separate those out in the hoop. And then you're choosing, again, whatever that piece size is. So this one is 2.5 by 6.5. That is the folder that you would choose on the USB, and then bring that in. So it worked really well. I haven't found a mistake yet. You did really, really good.
I worked really hard.
And I've done, I think, all of the patterns. I think I chose at least one of everything I tried, but I don't know. I might have skipped something somewhere, but I think I've got pretty much everything there. So I'm going to keep working, and I'm doing it a section at a time. So in your instructions here, there are sections that says this is section 2. You've got your embroidered pieces, and then you have your non-embroidered pieces. And so I'm pulling those out and embroidering them together, and then sewing that section together. That's how I'm attacking it. Whether that's the best way or not, I don't know, but it's working, so I'm going to stick with it.
That sounds good.
So this is section 1. As I said, I have all of these pieces done, so they are super cute. I do still have embellishment to stitch. There's not, I didn't get all of that, but I really wanted to go get a plastic bottle of Coke and put a label or something in there, but I refrained. But they all stitched out just super cute. I definitely have favorites. These are my 2 favorites. I can't decide between the 2. This one says Life is Sweet. These lemons actually move in here. They're just floating. They're not stitched down, which I really love. You actually stitch those first, and then it's water soluble. You rinse the outsides and then place that in there. Super, super cute. They moved as I stitched. So heads up on that. Make sure you stay a little bit close by so that they don't scooch out into the seam. So just keep an eye on that when you get to there. But I just love this. Relish today, catch up tomorrow. I just think it's so darn cute.
Yes.
So, but they all came out really, really well. I did add 2 threads to the original kit because I just wanted a little bit more variance. So I added a middle green. So we had like an olive green, the light green, and then I chose one in the middle that was a little grassier. So you can see maybe here, this is 1 and 2, and this was the one I added. And then I added a little bit brighter blue for flowers. I didn't want them navy, and they were sometimes on a blue fabric that needed to be darker than the light blue. So I pulled out kind of a blueberry color blue. So I added those 2 threads in to complete things.
Perhaps we can do like a section week, because you've got a good jump start on this. So maybe next week we'll start by talking about in more detail section 1.
Yep. And then touch base on starting section 2. And how those pieces went together.
Yep.
And in the meantime, if you do have questions, you can call, because I've stitched them all.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to point out, this was something I'd never done before, but I really liked how she did it. So there was a little placement line here, and then you overlay it by, about a 1/4 inch and tack that down, and then it stitches it in place. then you trim off that excess and it looks like it's wrapping around the jar.
Oh,
It
very
needs
cute.
to be tied in a knot. I'm just
Yeah.
leaving it alone until I get it stitched in place. But that was a little different. I'd never seen anything like that in any
Right.
patterns that I've done. It made perfect sense. I wasn't confused by it or anything like that, but just thought I'd throw that out there because it is a little, different thing that we haven't seen on a regular basis. But everything else was pretty straightforward. The harder stuff was at the last ones. The truck was probably the hardest. It had the most pieces and things to put together. This one was a little involved, but little tip.
Yep. So
Trim before you put the vinyl. If you have any fuzzies.
Cindy West said, for people who are new to Kimberbell quilts, I wish someone would show how to cut the fabric for these quilts from Kimberbell. The directional fabric is hard to determine the way to lay the fabric. Can I borrow your book for a second?
You can.
So
right in the front.
Honestly, Cindy, this is the not this page here, but
this page.
This page right here. This is about as clear as you can possibly get.
It's
so
very well written.
Literally lay your fabric down the way the picture shows and then
the shape that it shows as well.
Yeah.
So like and it says directional print on where there is a directional print, and it shows you which direction those lines or the whatever it is should be going. So they're pretty clear. That's the only one that was really like, okay, make sure I get this the right direction when I'm cutting it.
Yeah.
It was pretty straightforward. The vinyl likes to stick together. So be really careful and make sure you're peeling all of those parts apart before you cut into there. And then I actually started small and then worked my way up to the bigger pieces.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if you got your kit from us, Cindy, we sorted all of the shapes together. So all of the scrap pieces were together, and then all of the fat eights were together, and so on and so forth. So they will line up with each type.
Yeah.
We tried to help at least in that aspect, so everything was put together. Of course, if you went through and just started rifling through it, how cute it all was, I totally get that too.
And I don't know about you, but I cut from this.
This is what I use.
So I don't actually. I find this one here
a little overwhelming.
Yeah, this to me is a little bit overwhelming, and I don't find it to be helpful for me. I literally
not in this aspect. I don't use that at all. You can use this if you can't quite figure out what pattern. So sometimes like the navy blues are really close, and when you get that little square of it in the directions here, and it says, you know, this piece, and this piece.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wouldn't necessarily know which print she meant.
Right.
Because even here it looked really small and I was like, I don't know which one that is. Then I flipped to this and I went to those navies and looked up the title of that block.
Yeah.
And I knew which piece went where. So if you get confused on that, that's how I used this.
Yeah.
But I literally use this and only this when I'm cutting.
Yeah, me too.
And I have multiple sizes of rulers with me, and I use the smallest one I possibly can because I have the most maneuverability. So like the 8.5 by 8.5 or 8.5 by 10.5, you have to use the bigger, you know, my smaller ruler is only 6 inches wide. So I couldn't use that for there.
Right.
And I don't recommend using the lines on your cutting mat. Use the lines on your ruler. It's way better and things stay where they're supposed to be.
Yes, definitely.
Don't mix and match the lines on your mat and the ruler, or who knows what might happen. And unfortunately, in most cases, there's not enough to fix if you cut wrong. So I would start at the top and work your way down, or start small and work your way up. And then you can see maybe, I literally put a check mark every time that I finished a color. So I'm like, okay, I would double check. I've got 3 pieces. I'm supposed to have 4. Crap. Okay, I need another one.
Yeah.
And see what I missed or whatever that happens to be. But then I would mark it off as I finished.
And all of her quilt patterns,
this is what they
this
do.
Page on there. And that is that is how I cut them. And it is so much. This works for my brain.
It works really well. Now they do talk in here about getting bags and labeling them. I don't right here. And so, you know, putting all of the pieces for something in a Ziploc bag.
Yeah.
I don't do that. That's too much time involved for me personally. I actually went through each page of the book and said, okay, I need these 3 pieces for the background. I need 3 pieces of this. And I set them right there. And I literally just put them in each page of the book.
Mhm.
And then I put the book next to me when I'm sewing.
Yeah.
When I turn the next page, I've got everything I need right there.
Yep.
And so that was what works for me. You know, you'll probably find, you'll probably find a way that works for you as well. Their bag system certainly works very well.
Yeah.
It's just one more step that I personally don't feel like I needed to take. I just used the book.
Yes.
So that was me. We do still have kits available, Cindy. If you haven't purchased it yet and you would like to, we can certainly help you out with that. And I do have thread kits as well. So we're going to let you guys go because we went a little bit over today.
Yeah. Really quickly, we have our sip and surge on Friday.
On
it is
Friday.
Scrolling through the bottom of the event or the page here.
There is no fee to tune in. So
Right.
it will be on our Facebook page. Belatedly thinking.
Right.
And it will also be on YouTube. So you can check that out and see what sergers are all about.
Yep.
Baby lock sergers are literally the best ones out there. So tune in and check out if you have one, maybe a little bit more information on how to use it. And if you don't have one yet, check it out so you can see how awesome they are. And I like it, Louisa. It works for me. So not saying the bag system is bad because it's not. It's just more than I needed.
Different.
Yeah, a little bit.
I think that goes in there. This goes back to Tori. Anyways, so yeah, join us for our special edition on Friday. It's going to be at 3:30 again. So we hope to see a bunch of you here. And
Can't tell you how long it's going to be. We're not really sure exactly, but a couple hours.
It's a surprise.
It's going to probably be a couple hours.
Us as well.
Us as well. We'll see how it goes.
Yep.
There will only be one taping or whatever you want to call of that. However, we will post it to our YouTube channel. So if you can't make it, you certainly can tune in and watch the technique videos or watch the entire shebang on Friday or after.
Yes.
If you want to stitch along, there are kits available. This will not be a class. That's not how this is set up. We're going to show you how to do different things, and then you could stitch that part if you have the tools at home. Or you can just watch. Either way is certainly fine.
Yep, on the replay.
But we did get asked, you know, well, don't wait for me or, you know, whatnot. This isn't, we're not going to wait for anybody. So
no worries.
Sorry. But it's going to literally be, you know, different videos that show different techniques. And then, of course, our hilarity that makes us us
Right.
and whatnot in between those different pieces. So
Cindy wants to know, do we have the kits for make yourself at home?
yes.
Yes, we do.
I have embellishment, pattern, and fabric kits for that as well. So
I don't think those are on the website, but you can call us.
yes, yep.
And-
And we would be happy to take care of that and ship if you needed to. I don't know where you live at, Cindy, but we certainly can take care of that for you. And what did Louise ask about? Tools?
Louisa asked, I have lots of stuff. Can you give us a list if we want to search along?
So
You should have the pattern. If you
buy the kit, the pattern comes with the kit.
Yes.
We're not posting the pattern anywhere outside of the kits. But you certainly can go that. The kits are only $15. It's a yard and a half of fabric plus some cording and some elastic. So certainly value driven from that perspective. And if you decide you don't want to make a drawstring bag, you have a yard and a half of really cute fabric.
yeah, 3 half-yard chunks.
3 half-yard
coordinating
chunks
fabrics.
of coordinating things. So that's there. As far as, you know, threads, it would just be, we did not include threads, of course. So you can order those kits right on our website, and we can either hold it for you here at the store for pickup, or we can ship it to you. Of course, shipping might be questionable at this point that you would get it on time for Friday. So,
But you would definitely get the pattern.
but we'll
because
get the
we would
pattern
email
for you so
the
that you
pattern.
can certainly stitch that at your convenience.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your week, and we will see you all on Friday afternoon. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.